It's only been off air for a couple of days and still they are completely insane, barking mad, mental, grifters, corrupt, who are absolutely dreadful. And that's not even got onto their policies.
Keir Starmer, the man who said he was all about integrity, is now caught in a bizarre bribing scandal that's got everyone talking. Yep, the media has turned up the heat, exposing his shady dealings, and it's messy. What was once just whispers is now blowing up into a full-on firestorm, and it's got people worried. Are we headed for some dark days in Britain? Stick around as we break down the drama and see what this means for the future of Labour and the country.
How can Keir Starmer tell us that he's going to clean up politics whilst taking £100,000 worth of freebies?
Imagine this. You're running a country, preaching austerity, cutting benefits, and telling people to tighten their belts. But behind closed doors, you're living it up in fancy penthouses, wearing designer clothes, and enjoying gifts worth around $100,000. Yep, you heard that right. Keir Starmer, the same guy who's planning to scrap winter fuel allowances and limit child benefits, has been caught accepting personal gifts worth over 100 grand. And no, we're not talking about cheap trinkets. Let's break it down. While Starmer has been busy leading the country, he's also been enjoying luxury properties, designer clothing, and high-end perks. From a $4 million townhouse in Soho to a swanky penthouse in Covent Garden, these gifts were, wait for it, not properly declared. And now, the UK media is on fire, exposing every shocking detail of this scandal. Things got so hot that Starmer even had to repay $6,000 after it came to light that he received these luxurious gifts without properly disclosing them. It's like he thought no one would notice. Spoiler alert, the media noticed. And now everyone's talking about whether Starmer is fit to lead the country.
The more you lean towards this government, the more relieved you are that things like, and I'll do this entirely off the top of my head, all right? Things like the unlawful prorogation of Parliament, things like misleading the Queen, things like expelling 21 MPs from the parliamentary party for refusing to tell lies about Brexit.
But wait, it gets worse. What makes this even more jaw-dropping is the blatant hypocrisy. While telling the public to live within their means and accept cuts, Starmer's been living it up like he's some kind of celebrity. He's accepting lavish gifts, designer clothes worth thousands, and jetting off to luxury homes. And all this while millions of British families are struggling with rising costs.
I reckon it's the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer that's now the most hopelessly inept politician in the West.
This scandal has left people furious, not just because of the gifts, but because of the double standards. Imagine the Prime Minister telling you that you can't have help with heating this winter, while he's out here getting fancy clothes and staying in multi-million-pound properties, all gifted by a millionaire donor. Let's take a closer look at some of the goodies Starmer has been enjoying. First up, we have a $4 million townhouse in the heart of Soho. This isn't just any home. This luxurious pad has been the backdrop for high-level Labour meetings, and get this, it wasn't even declared until it was exposed. Next, an $18 million penthouse in Covent Garden, where Starmer's family reportedly stayed for 6 weeks during the election campaign. But here's the real kicker. When it was declared, the value was way underreported. Starmer's team claimed it was worth just $2,000, when in reality, staying in that prime location could easily fetch around $1,800 per day. And it's not just in London. We're talking high-end Manhattan apartments too. Starmer's deputy, Angela Rayner, spent days in a $2 million luxury apartment in New York, again downplaying the real cost when it was finally declared. It's almost like they're playing a game of how low can we go when it comes to reporting the value of these insane gifts.
Things like having a Prime Minister found to be in contempt of Parliament. Things like fibbing or desperately trying to cover up the receipt of £112,500 worth of home decor. Getting your own dinner delivered to your own home during COVID. Having more offences committed at the address of 10 and 11 Downing Street than at any other address in the entire country. Throwing huge parties, drunken bacchanals, while the rest of us couldn't even attend the funerals of family members. That's 10 things.
So who's behind all these luxurious freebies? Enter Lord Ali, a mega-rich donor with close ties to the Labour Party. He's been bankrolling Starmer's lavish lifestyle. If you're wondering who exactly is this Lord Wahid Ali, the guy behind all these donations, well, allow me to bring you up to speed, because Lord Ali is no small name in UK politics or business. He's a powerhouse who's been backing Labour for years, and his influence stretches far beyond just giving Keir Starmer some free clothes and accommodation. Born in Croydon to a Trinidadian mother and Guyanese father, Ali started out in banking and TV before becoming one of the UK's youngest ever peers when Tony Blair appointed him to the House of Lords at just 33 years old. He's been a major player ever since. Lord Ali's got some serious wealth, an estimated 200 million, and he's been Labour's biggest donor, handing out over $700,000 to the party. He's also been the chairman of ASOS, involved in youth charities, and was even part of the Cool Britannia era in the late 90s. But despite his connections and influence, Lord Ali insists he's not looking for anything in return for his donations. He's all about supporting Labour's cause and has made it clear that his contributions are fully declared. But let's be real, someone with this much money and power doesn't just throw around cash without stirring up some controversy. That's why Starmer's been under fire for accepting gifts from him. And it's not just Starmer. Other Labour politicians like Angela Rayner and Rachel Reeves have also enjoyed Lord Ali's generosity, which has led to all this debate about transparency. But why? That's the million-pound question. Just how close are Starmer and Lord Ali, and what kind of influence does Lord Ali have over the Labour Party? Let's be real. Politicians accepting gifts isn't just a simple thank you gesture. It's almost always part of a bigger game. These so-called gifts can range from luxury cars to lavish vacations, and let's not kid ourselves, they're rarely handed over without strings attached. Political figures don't just take expensive gifts for the fun of it. These gifts are often given with a motive. Whether it's a wealthy donor or a corporation, the people behind these gifts usually expect something in return. It could be a favourable vote on legislation, a lucrative government contract, or even special treatment in the business world. It's not just about the gift, it's about what comes with it: influence, access and power. This practice is often seen as a form of corruption, and for good reason. The moment a politician accepts something beyond a thank you card or a basic token of appreciation, their impartiality comes into question. Can they really make decisions that benefit the public, or are they more inclined to protect the interests of the person who gave them that expensive yacht or front row concert tickets? It's a slippery slope that can erode trust in the political system, and unfortunately, it happens more often than we think. These gifts create a network of favours that blur the line between serving the people and serving private interests. In the end, it's usually the everyday citizen who pays the price for this behind-the-scenes power play.
But he's kept all the suits. He's entered a rental agreement for designer clothes that was for his wife, some tickets to the races, but he's kept everything else. And given that he's taken well over 100 grand's worth of freebies,
it's hard not to ask the obvious question: is Keir Starmer being bought? Would Lord Ali have been this generous if Starmer wasn't the leader of the Labour Party? Probably not. And that's where things get really messy. The optics are terrible, and the public is getting increasingly cynical about Starmer's motives. And let's not forget, this scandal comes at a time when Starmer is pushing for harsh austerity measures. He's all for scrapping the winter fuel allowance, which helps millions of elderly people in the UK stay warm during freezing winters. And he's okay with limiting benefits for struggling families. Now, let's talk about what Keir Starmer has to say about all these gifts and accusations. You might think he's dodging questions like most politicians, but Starmer's trying to be upfront. In a recent interview, he defended accepting some pretty pricey accommodations from Labour donor Lord Wahid Ali during the general election. Like, we're talking over $20,000 worth of free housing. Why? According to Starmer, it was all for his son. He promised his 16-year-old kid a peaceful place to study for his GCSEs, so they moved into Lord Ali's flat for a few weeks to avoid the chaos of the campaign. Starmer was quick to point out that it didn't cost the taxpayer a dime, and he even declared the gift openly. But that's not the only thing he's been grilled over. There were also donations for things like work clothes and glasses, over $16,000 worth. Starmer admitted that accepting those donations was part of the hurly-burly of the election, but now that he's in government, he's decided to stop taking freebies for his wardrobe. He's even made it clear that going forward, you won't see him making those kinds of declarations again. And the football thing? Yup, even that's under the microscope. Starmer's been spotted enjoying some Arsenal hospitality. He says it's a security issue. As Prime Minister, he can't just sit in the regular stands anymore. He acknowledges there's always a fine line with these gifts, but insists it's all about exercising judgment and being transparent. So, is he in the clear? Or is this just another case of politicians playing the game? You decide. So, while Starmer is accepting luxury properties and designer clothes, regular people are being told they have to do without basic necessities. This has sparked outrage across the country, with critics calling it the ultimate slap in the face. Now, let's talk about Rosie Duffield. This Labour MP just stirred the pot by resigning from the party, claiming they care more about greed and power than making a difference. Ouch, she's throwing serious shade at the leadership during a time when Keir Starmer is already facing scrutiny for accepting those freebies from Lord Ali. Remember when Rishi Sunak was grappling with sleaze accusations? Well, Starmer's team is now in a similar hot seat, and Duffield's move is keeping the heat on. It's wild how quickly these scandals can spiral. Back in '97, Tony Blair brushed off a major scandal involving Formula One and donations from Bernie Ecclestone, and it barely registered on voters' radars. Fast forward to today, and the sentiment remains. While voters care about integrity, they're way more concerned about the big issues, like changes to winter fuel payments, than the latest donation drama. So, with Labour's credibility at stake, will they be able to tackle the real problems, or will they just get lost in this donation debate? Only time will tell. The big question now is, what happens next? Will Keir Starmer survive this scandal? Can he rebuild trust with the public? Or is this the beginning of the end for his time as Prime Minister? Political analysts are already predicting that this could be a turning point for Starmer. Some are even saying that Labour's chances at the next election are looking shaky, all thanks to this bribery scandal. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.